Yo,
Logic, what up?
what's up, G?
Hey, no, I'm waiting for the brother Malik to step up, see if he gonna join the panel. I just hit the live, but yeah, man, what's going on with you though?
Chilling, 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 man. So this weekend I've been trying to step into these shoes that I got this resume that I'm trying to bulk up for this job that I ain't really supposed to get, but my homeboy work over there, so he gonna try to get my name pulled. He's like a manager in the department, but he's not like high enough to where he just say who get hired and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that'll fall through. You know what I'm saying? That's that work from home job and waiting on to come back up.
Oh yeah, that's dope then.
Yeah, so I'm trying to research. I've been researching a lot about like what the job is and so I can be able to intelligently have a conversation about it. And it's kind of tough because I ain't never did nothing like it before. Like I ain't never worked in the warehouse industry, no delivery driver experience, none of that. So to explain supply chain like I'm familiar with it has definitely been a challenge when I've never seen it before. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been trying to dig deep and really he said it was cool. Like I could just fake my resume, just go crazy on the resume, but be ready to talk about it. Like you know what I'm saying? Still be ready to explain how you were able to save money, cut costs based on your decisions, shit like that. So
And you said you never
yeah.
worked in that industry before?
No, I've never done nothing like that before. So he got me applying for a logistics position, basically something that you need a bachelor's degree for. But and he's gonna try to nepotism get me in there a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you might need to talk to Fetty. You know that's what Fetty did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See?
You know who else I was intending to talk to? I was going to talk to Smalls. Smalls actually.
Oh, Smalls into that too. Yep.
Yeah, because he did some driving.
Yep. What's going on, brother Malik? Welcome to the show. Appreciate you stopping by.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Hold on. Let me see. Say something again.
Say, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, brother. Peace, peace, peace.
Peace, peace. Hey, man. So, all right. So, check it out. Malik, I always been hearing this conversation going on, right? So, me, I said, I'm never having that conversation. I said, man, that is the goofiest, you know what I mean, thing that I've ever heard. It was two conversations that I said I wasn't gonna have, and that was the Abo conversation that black people is the original Native Americans and that the earth is flat. I said black people got too many issues to be going backwards, right? I said that don't even make sense. Like certain things that's already been established to me, I said I don't think we should be arguing that. We make ourselves look crazy. Black people arguing whether the earth is flat. We all went to school. Like that's not something we should be arguing about. And another thing I felt as though is particularly as being African American is that we shouldn't argue about whether the slave trade happened and whether they brought us from Africa or not. I thought that those things was already established, and why would black people even argue over that? That's like a Jewish person arguing that the Holocaust never happened. Like they wouldn't even play with the history and the memory of their people like that. You dig what I'm saying? So like, why are we doing it? But go ahead, Malik. I ain't mean to. I'm not
Shalom,
trying.
shalom. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. The reason why I say that because of this. Our history been told, like the greatest story ever told was a lie. That we came off slave boats by the millions, and so-called white men went to Africa, and the tribes went to war and they sold off their captives and all that. That was a straight lie. because it's well documented that if you ever read the book Ancient Martin Britain, that we are the original Dutch, the original French, the original Europeans. And you know the word European comes from the word Europia, who was a Moorish queen who was of Phoenician bloodline. We are indigenous all over the earth. Why wouldn't we have been indigenous to Europe and whatnot? Why wouldn't we be indigenous to the Americas? When people talk that language, I say, okay, I tell them my experience. I don't know what your experience is. I'm telling you, the first time I heard of slavery was the movie Roots. I remember, like I said, I went back to my grandmother who told me, no, he said, I never heard that stuff. You know what I'm saying? She showed me our family bloodline. Um, she met her husband in what's that? Shelby, is it Shelby? North Carolina. Um, which was my grandfather who was in the military, who was stationed there. And when I did the genealogy, and I don't do the blood test or the swab test, those are fake. They will put you right into Africa. Excuse me if I hear a bird in the background. I'm babysitting somebody's bird. I'll never do that again. Let's see if I can get like the window, man. But anyway,
Dude said he bird
anyway,
sitting. That's
yeah, man,
this
yeah,
about
man.
to be a wild conversation, Logic. He
Yeah,
bird
so
sitting.
yeah, I'm bird sitting. Ain't that
Maybe I'm to the
something?
right
That's
person
cool.
now.
So I traced my great grandfather. You know what I'm saying? Everybody went back to Greensboro, Georgia, and when I went down there and I've seen the books, I've seen the documents, I've seen lakes and rivers in my family name, and my family last name is Phelps, Phelps, which is also included in the Phillips. And when I seen the documents and books, I said, "Wow, we had many acres of land. We were farm owners. We owned plantations. They try to mix that word plantation as if it meant slavery. It had nothing to do with slavery. Plantation meant like you growing fruits there, tobacco, things like that, grapes and everything. That was a plantation. Okay, these people mixed the words up, and back then we wasn't called Negro, Black, or Colored. All right, our people went by our family last name. If you're a Phelps, you're a Phelps. You're a Jenkins, you're a Jenkins. On my mother's side, she come out of South Carolina. She is Gullah Geechee, okay, Chickasaw, also mixed with that family lineage. What I'm trying to say is, there are document books like the Negro Question, Part 7, will tell you about the people of swarthy complexion of Black American Revolution from 1775 to 1778. We are the original. Some of us are also the bloodline of the 13 colonies that came here from Europe. They look just like me and you. They came with their property, who was a pale skin. There's a book out. The book is called the book is called White Cargo. White Cargo is a documented book where it says, you know what I'm saying, White Cargo is the forgotten story of the thousands of Britons who lived and died in bondage in Britain's American colonies in the 16th, 17th centuries. You know what I'm saying? Of these Pelskins that was here as property. What I'm saying is, if you do your homework, you will find to your family last name that in the 1800 census, you will find out that your family name is still on land patents. This is what they're afraid of. So when I went down there to Greensboro, Georgia, a little white lady, you know, I'm a Moor, so you know I'm a Bay, but I'm just going to talk plainly to you, okay? So you understand where I'm coming from. A little white lady said, look, as long as your people stay up north and they don't come down and make claim, this is all considered abandoned land. And I said, you're right. You know what I'm saying? She said, I'm glad that some of y'all are waking up. I'm like, wow, like that. She said, yeah. She said, my husband is Black American, you know. So she just gave us a hint and she went on and that just gave me more, you know, and she said, okay, we are indigenous here. And when we claim off African boats, okay, as slaves, because remember, there's documents of ancient colonies that came out of Africa and all that, that came over here too. When we traveled the world, you know, a white man brought us here and music. That's like saying Columbus discovered America and nobody was here. If you believe that story, then of course you're gonna believe the slave story. Okay? All I'm saying to you is this. Your story might not be my story, but I know one thing. You know what I'm saying? That my people are indigenous here and it's well documented. I've seen the documents when I saw all the land patents. I've seen, matter of fact, land patent. I even seen how much land they owned.
Hmm.
And like I said, I
So,
just came back. Yeah, brother.
so that's the thing. I'm not gonna dispute your family, right? Like I said, your family might be unique, right? Where y'all are the Native Americans. I'm gonna say you and your family, but I'm saying for the history of African Americans in this hemisphere is not the history of your particular family. So when y'all make that claim and everybody always say, "Well, go talk to your family," I'm not talking about you. You would have to say that the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, didn't happen. Are you saying that?
What I'm saying, it didn't happen like that. No,
So how
it
did
was
it
a
happen?
it was a few that landed in West Virginia. Only a handful, and that was that. I forgot what that movie. They said a handful landed in West Virginia, but they don't have it documented that we was some of votes by the millions and whatnot. That's not even well documented, brother. Only a handful landed in West Virginia. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the document in front of me, but only a handful. You know what I'm saying? Let me say something to you. This modern day European, what you call white man, during the Civil War, 16, during the Civil War from 1861 to 1865, okay, if you go back and look at the document, you know some of the people in those veteran wars was wearing fezzes on their head. Do y'all know that? They was wearing fezzes on their head. What are
Who?
you doing with fezzes? Some of the soldiers in the Civil War was wearing fezzes. You know what a fez is, right?
Yes.
Okay, you know what a mason is, right?
Yes.
You know what an Eastern Star is, right?
That's the females, right?
Yes. What do they wear on their head?
But they wear a turban.
Fez and turbans, right?
Hmm.
So who that custom belong to?
North Africans.
Moors. Moors. That's a Moorish garb you talking about. Those are Moorish fezzes you talking about. The fezzes belong to the Moors. And you ever seen the movie Morocco where they speak on the Casablanca? You ever seen that movie Casablanca?
No.
You ever heard of Casablanca?
Yes, I know Casablanca is in Morocco.
Yeah,
It
okay,
was a
great. I'm
French
glad you said
colony of
that.
Morocco.
I'm glad you said that. Now, what do Casablanca mean?
I think is the White Castle.
Like, you hungry? Are you hungry, man? It means White House.
Okay, White House. Okay.
Where's the White House?
The White House is in Washington D.C.
There you go, brother.
So hold
Casablanca
on,
was
what did
that.
you just do here? What did you
What
just
happened?
prove?
What I just proved was you in Morocco too. America is watered down from the word Morocco. I know it's hard to believe that, but remember, we called the indigenous people also called us Turtle Island. Okay? Remember, the 13 colonies. You know what the 13 colonies was, what?
Yes, I do. The eastern
Okay.
seaboard of the United States.
Okay, what was the last one to become a colony? When they became the 13 colony, what was the last state to become the colony?
The last state to become a colony. What? That don't even make sense.
So when they became the fully 13 colony that became the United States, right? Which one was the last state before they became the United States?
Which was the last colony that got its charter from Great Britain? Is that what you saying?
I didn't say God chartered from Great Britain. I said the 13 colonies that came here, they became the United States. You know that.
Yes.
Okay, they was on the eastern borders, right? Of
Uh
North
huh.
America, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if that's true, then what was the rest of the land was called? Or the eastern border, what was the rest of the land was called?
The rest of the continental United States. What was it called?
What's called the United States? United States was the 13 colonies. The 13 colonies what became the United States. You understand that? Okay. So what I'm trying to say is the last state when they became a United States, the 13 colonies when they became a full United States, the last state to become that was Georgia. Okay. What I'm saying is before they was colonies here, there was indigenous land here, and indigenous people had names for it. Okay, and a lot of them land, like in New York, before New York, a lot of the land was owned by Lenapes. The Lenapes up in the northern region. Then as you go south, you might run into the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Blackfoot. These are whole tribes. They had names for these places, like Long Island, New York. You familiar with the tribes that was out there, like the Canarsie, you know what I'm saying? The Seneca, that's where um, um, Wu Tang, they bloodline from that. Old Dirty Bastard, you know what I'm saying? The
Hmm.
RZA, those are those are Seneca. They ain't Seneca. They'll tell you they're Seneca. So it was here already. You know what I'm saying? They don't play that slave stuff. What I'm saying is this to you, brother. I get where you're coming from, but when you read books like Ancient Martin Britain telling you who the original people of Europe was, then you read books from a book named Dr. Clyde Winters. You familiar with him?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Clyde Winters.
He has a book called The History and the Culture of Black Aborigines of the United States. And then, like I said, there's so many books that's out there written that we're waking up and realizing, oh, this is why they kept putting us towards Africa. Let me say something to you. At one time, the land masses were all together at one time. Okay, so there was people on both sides before the great splitting of the earth. There's people on both sides, as you say. There's a mother, there's a father. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying to you is we was already here. This is why you see books out there where they showing you that you had ancient Olmec heads and everything. You know what I'm talking about, right? Statues and all that. In the ground they dug it up and all that, right?
Hmm.
These people had African features, so called, right? Am I right?
Hmm.
Phrasing it here, right or wrong?
Hmm.
What I'm saying, we was already here. No white man brought us here by the millions. That was a lie. He does that to every indigenous people on the earth. He incriminates them. That's what he does. He incriminates the indigenous people. So if we all believe that we all came from Africa, okay, I'm gonna give that. But I ain't giving that. He brought us on slave boats. We were already indigenous here in the Americas because you got the Aztec, the Mayan. If you ever look at those pictures, these are dark-skinned, melanated people. These are carbonated people, right? What I'm saying is, if you want to go on that slave story, that's on you. But when you find out you do your family genealogy, parent by parent, not that swab test and that blood test, you're gonna go right to the ATM and say, "Oh wow!" And let me say something. What I found out: most of our people, we have a Pacific grave site where our family is in the South, and your people in the South. You would have one or two grave sites. Like when I found mine, I had to take off my shoes to show respect to my family going back to the 1800s. And here's the crazy part. Here's the crazy part I want to say. 1861 to 1865 was the Civil War, right? So-called freedom slaves, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
So how is in 1870, 5 years later, us we Congress? You know about that, right?
Reconstruction.
Yeah, how we Congress in 5 years? What type of slaves was us? And then all the inventions. We had 50,000 patents of inventions. Why didn't we do it in Africa? Why we had to do it over here? All the music genre, all the dancing come from us. Why are we trading all this stuff? Because we was already here. This is why they was able to. The reason why people think we wasn't here, because they burnt down a lot of our towns. A lot of our towns are still underwater. Am I right?
All right, so hold on. We got to deal. You said a lot, right?
Of course I did.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, bro.
you
Pardon me,
threw.
pardon me.
Listen, you threw the kitchen sink at us. All right.
I'm sorry, brother.
No, I mean you passionate. That's
Yeah, I
I,
am.
yeah. I don't mind you, but it was a lot of information, right? So, and that's one of the reasons why I always hesitated
Sorry, go ahead, brother.
to
Sorry.
do these type of shows with people with your information because y'all throw the kitchen sink at us, right? Y'all jump from different time per y'all just spew all of this stuff and then say now deal with it, right? So I'll go back to the initial, the transatlantic slave trade, which you said that it didn't happen like that. Now I'm not negating none of the other stuff that you said, and I'm not dismissing all of that information that you gave, but we have to be able to deal with the premise of why we're African, right? And why we're not African. You know what I mean? So the reason why it is said that we're African is because of the transatlantic slave trade. Am I right or am I wrong? Are we on the same page right now?
That's what they say.
Yeah,
That's what they say. Right?
right.
So yeah,
That's what they say. That's what you learned in school, right? That's American history, right? Do we agree? Is that the established
that's
story
just
of?
that is established
All
story
right,
of who it's coming from, who
all
it's
right. So
coming
you
from.
heard it before. It ain't like I'm making none of this up, right? Is this not my
One
and this is not my personal information?
You are 1,000% that you said the key word is coming from them, not from us. But go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. All right. So cool. So the transatlantic slave trade, right? The transatlantic slave trade is the key event that brought us to the Western Hemisphere. It is said that we didn't exist in the Western Hemisphere until the transatlantic slave trade, which was a forced migration of Africans, right, to the Western Hemisphere by boats by I think four European nations. The four European nations was Portugal, Portugal, Spain, France, and England, and some by the Dutch. I'll give five, right? So and the Dutch brought slaves also, right? So key five European nations, all maritime nations, at the time, right? And we all know that they had dealings with West Africans on the coast of West Africa. The slave trade in West Africa is already documented, right? The arrival of Africans in the New World is documented. The slave systems in the Americas, as far as wise Brazil, coming all the way up to North America and the Caribbean, is a documented thing, right? So you're saying that that is all fabricated.
That's
You
not
see the mountain. See, you see the mountain. You know how much stuff you would have to dismiss, right? You would have to, and you're going to do it. I know you're going to do it. I know you're going to dismiss it like it. But that's a lot, brother. That's a lot you got to dismiss right now. Go ahead.
I'm not going to dismiss it with just my opinion. I deal with facts and documents. See, I don't just go off wordplay. Let me tell you something to you. Malcolm X said this. How would you allow your enemy to teach, to teach, you know what I'm saying, the school or teach your children? And that's what they've been teaching, fourth document. They've been documents, you know what I'm saying, that our people are not indigenous all over the earth. Meanwhile, if you go to Elijah Muhammad, he said, who's the original man? The Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the king of the planet Earth, father of civilization and God of the universe. Now, my thing is this, then that can't be true. Then he can't be the father of civilization if he wasn't all over the earth. What the man was here before us? That's a lie. What the and the word Native American. You said somebody you don't believe in Native American, right?
Right. But no, let's deal
Okay,
with the transatlantic slave trade.
okay. I told you already that was fabricated because the bottom line is this. Very prove it. I shot it out. You can't take that many people out of Africa. 100 million they claiming come over on boats and whatnot, and then
Who
they
said
find out we
100 million?
That's the document. That's what's documented. They took us out of Africa about 100 million. Yes, that's what's documented, brother. You need to understand, and that's not the right proper number. You know and that's crazy. You know what 100 million would do? And let me tell you something to you. The Dutch back then, the French back then looked like me and you. How that sound? They whitewashed the whole history. Do you know that?
No, see, and that's another.
Documented. This is
Like I said,
documented,
the
bro. Not
kitchen
my
sink.
opinion.
Hold on,
Not my opinion.
the kitchen sink. We're still trying to. We're still trying to this. We have to come to some type of agreement about the transatlantic slave trade, right? Like not how the Dutch looked 400 years ago. If you think the Dutch wasn't white 400 years ago, like that's a whole nother can of worms, brother. like, but anywho, if you think that that the people of Britain wasn't white 400 years ago. Like I that you know.
They wasn't, brother. They wasn't. They wasn't. I'm
So
listen,
you
brother.
so I don't even want to deal with that. Okay, they were black. The French, the Dutch, just 400 years ago, those Europeans were black people, right? And they were see. That's why I said I don't even know if I'm capable of having this Hey, Logic, do you wanna did you wanna add something? Are you still here?
So we carry if I put the camera, can I see? Can you see me if I put my camera on?
Yeah.
Video on? Okay. Okay, brother. Okay. Can you see me good?
Yes, sir.
You ever seen this book here by Ivan Astronomy?
Yes, they came before Columbus.
Okay. What's the picture? What the picture look like?
That's an old man kid.
What it look like?
It looked like uh, African.
People African descent, right? So they came before Columbus. Ivan Astronomy, well-known scholar, right? Okay. What does this book say? You see?
White cargo.
Okay, these are all property. This is who they was. This is they scholars telling the truth who they was. Okay? You ever seen this one here? Like you said, brother, you say you remember Dr. Clyde Winters, right? Yeah. This is who we are. We are indigenous to the Americas. Documented. These are all documented. I don't go by my word. My word means nothing. You know what I'm saying? We are indigenous. Here's the book. This is another one. The Ancient Colonies of this is by Frank Joseph, a well-known German scholar that says this. This is what he says.
What'd he say?
He says the lower colonies of ancient America. You know what I'm saying? This is what it said pre-Columbian and all that. We didn't come into the Americas.
So
Like
what
I
is he
said,
saying?
brother, what he's saying is that we've been in the Americas. No white man found no land here. That Columbus story was a joke too. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe this Columbus story that he discovered America?
Yes.
How you discover America and people's hill rate? Please explain that part to me.
He discovered it for the Western world.
No,
He
brother. You say
no for him and his people. He discovered
no.
it for him and his people. That's what
Uh,
that's saying.
how about if I told you Columbus was a brother too?
I wouldn't believe it.
Okay, he was a Morano. You know what Morano is?
A
He was
Morano.
a Morano. So you gotta know who Columbus is. Columbus was a Morano. He rented boats from the Nino brothers. You know who the El Nino brothers was?
El Nino, bro. Hold on. Let's deal with Columbus being a black man.
Yeah. Yeah, he was called Morano. You can Google right now or text whatever. I don't know how so you can Google whatever. I'm not
Why
trying to
would they
say
call Christopher Columbus a Morano?
because he was in Latin. That's called Morano. He was a swarthy complexion. That's why he was a swarthy complexion. Like this book right here, Negro Question, part 7 by Lee Cummings. It says the swarthy memoirs of Black American Revolution, 1775 to 1783.
So
He
what do
was
that
also
has to do with Christopher Columbus in the
I'm telling you that
1400s?
the 13 colonies was us too. I'm telling you that the indigenous people was us too. And then you had, you know what I'm saying? They show you in this Negro Question Part 4, the missing link. It shows you that King George of Scots, of England, the Irish, the Britain was all of swarthy complexion. This is well documented. Remember they say you want to hide something from a Negro? Put it in the book. I'm not a Negro. This is a book people need to read right here. You see what it says?
When rocks crowd.
Horace Butler. He telling you that the city of this brother's a world-known scholar. He went all throughout South America. He said he found out that the ancient city of Thebes and Troy was in South America. Do you know that? And it was a melanated, dark-skinned people when he seen it. And he tried to cover it up before he wrote this book. He probably came out with part 2, but we don't know what happened to him. But he said, please jump on this one right here. There's documented evidence that we've been here. You know what I'm saying? We are the native people. We are the indigenous people, aboriginal people. Now, if you go back to Webster Dictionary, you can Google it right now. You can Google Webster Dictionary from 1828 and put in Native American. You want to do that? And see what it says?
Hold on. So the transatlantic slave trade, right?
But you keep going back to that
Yeah,
phony stuff, man.
because
Just tell us what's wrong.
that
It's
has
bogus.
to listen.
It's bogus.
Okay,
You gotta prove to me that they existed like that. What documents you keep saying? You ain't told me the
hold
document. I'm
on,
showing
hold on. First, we have to get the establishment that the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen, right?
Nobody said that, but I think you're reading me wrong.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
said, I'm saying it again. It didn't happen the way they said it happened. 100 million Africans were taken out of
All
Africa.
right, I don't agree with that
1,000.
number. I don't agree with that number either.
Yes. Now let me
Okay,
ask you a
so
question.
now we're in agreement about the number.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Here go another one for you. You notice they keep showing the same slaves picture, a whole bunch of Africans lined up around the boat. You know they keep showing that same picture. No other pictures of different Africans on boats. They always show that same one. They never show other pictures. They never show other pictures. They don't show the same one. That's their motto right there. Go to now. How many boats did we come off of? Let me ask you a question. How many boats? How much cargo did they lost? Do you know?
They lost a lot of cargo
Okay,
coming
name the
across the
cargo they
Atlantic.
lost. You gotta name the cargo they lost. What kind of cargo they lost?
Whatever they were shipping, there's a lot of
Well,
stuff.
here's the catch, brother. You know, you familiar with Dr. Henry Clark, right?
John Henry Clark, yes sir.
John Henry Clark. Okay, he's a Southern boy, right?
Yeah, I think he was from Georgia.
There you go. Dr. Henry Clark said, "I only debate with my equal or others I teach. That's what I do, and I can go show you document by document. My opinion means nothing. I can prove to you we was here by the thousands. This is what they're afraid of. I can show you your family. If your family from North America, your family from the South or the islands, where your family from, brother?
My family from South Carolina and Virginia.
Uh, okay, all right, some of them Gullah Geechee.
I don't think so.
Have you done your genealogy?
But okay, that's good. I'm glad you said that. So you know the Gullah Geechee are descendants of Africans.
Brother, that's all made up to.
No, they acknowledge that. Oh, no, you're not going. You're not.
My mother from, listen, brother, my mother from
Oh
Brooklyn,
my
South
God.
Carolina, Gullah Geechee. When she first came to New York, they thought she was an island girl because she sounded like a Barbadian. Okay? She's a Jenkins. Some of the Jenkins was pushed into the islands during
Yes, sir.
which they call Seminole Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there was never a tribe called Seminole. That's what they called them, rebellious. But the wars was Indian, so-called Indian wars. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the Gullah Geechee was pushed into the island. They became what you could say as West Indians. Well, I got uncle that's in Barbados, but we trying to figure out how they got there. When we did the family genealogy, we found out it was during those wars. Someone was pushed into the island. My friend, she from Jamaica, which you call Jamaica. Her father was a Rasta, straight Rasta from Jamaica. When her family, her father's last name is Rose. When she did the Rose family back genealogy, she found out the Roses come out of Carolinas. That's how he found his family. He said, "Hold up, I'm from Jamaica. How the Roses come out?" Because you don't understand the Seminole Wars and people migrate different places. You know what I'm saying? In the islands, they got what you call the Tainos. You familiar with the Tainos?
Yes, sir.
So the Tainos is a subgroup from the Arawaks who came out of South America. So do you know some of the West Indian Caribbean is considered as Florida Keys and Louisiana? This is why some of the Louisiana customs are different than the rest of North America. Because they tell me, oh, this the slave trade down there. No, no, no. It was during the time. Yes, slavery played. Listen, I'm not saying slavery didn't happen. I'm saying on the level they said, it didn't happen like that. We
So,
started enslaving each other. Because
so
remember, remember, you forgot, there was tribal wars here, right or wrong.
there were tribal wars amongst Native Americans, of course.
Okay, now them pale skin you see now, they're mestizos. You know what mestizo is, right?
That's a Spanish word for
Mixed.
yeah.
They're mixed. They're not indigenous. To be indigenous here, you have to be copper tone people. That's what a Native American. When you got time, look, what's the dictionary? 1828. And it said Native American, the copper tone. Now, what is the copper tone race you talking about? Are we not the copper tone? Yes or no?
Yeah, we copper.
Okay, we're copper tone people. Not what you see now, damn near pale skin, damn near bright and white with stringy long hair. That's not. If you can go to 1800, 1700, you'll see like these people are dark skinned, melanated people. These people ain't pale skin like the way you said. Now they lighten up. All I'm saying is, when you go to Webster Dictionary, 1820, it said Native American, and you're gonna say, wow, the copper tone race is found here by the Europeans. Now contained to the Europeans. They call themselves American, are they not?
Yeah, but you
That's a culture vulture, brother.
right.
That's a culture vulture.
So you had said the Geechee, right?
Yeah.
And you said that the Gullah Geechee don't claim that they're descendants of Africans. And I'm
That was still
saying
on them too.
I'm
That was
saying
still
that
on
they
them too.
do, and their language is actually rooted in West African languages.
Brother,
Did
I'm trying to tell you, brother, we was all the same people. That's what I'm trying to
no?
tell you.
So how? So okay, all right.
The slave trade is a big lie, hoax to take us, to take our identity and to take our land like they've been doing. That's
Oh,
what it's done on. Yes, we family. We all cousins and family. We are that. That's one thing I'm trying to say to you. We are that. But the slave trade was a big hoax. That's what I'm saying.
all right. The slave trade is a hoax, and our people
Hoax.
didn't suffer that middle passage.
No, we
So
didn't. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. That's a
wow.
lie. That's a lie. You just showed, brother. I just showed you the documents. We was already here. So what? First of all, let me say something to you. Back in 15, they say they got us in 15, 1600. Are you familiar with the like, if that's true, remember I showed you this book here, White Cargo. Who was a slave in who then, if it's White Cargo? Please tell me. You see the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was a slave in who then, if this White Cargo? The way these so-called white people put it, nah, they were slaving us. So this is documented right here. They're trying to get rid of books like this.
So what
This
is
is
that
White
book
Cargo.
actually saying?
This book is saying, basically, this book is saying,
It's saying that the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen.
bro, you've been doing
Did
that for
John
years.
Henry you mentioned John Henry Clark? Did John Henry
Okay,
Clark ever say that the transatlantic slave trade never happened?
let me say something to you, bro, about John Henry Clark. He mentioned something a while back, but it was for the privilege. John Henry Clark was limited. They was forced to go overseas into that place they call Kemet, which they call Egypt, right? Am I right?
Who was forced?
Henry Clark and Aaron Sermon, they was forced basically to go do work over there in Africa, in a place called Egypt, what they call Kemet, right?
No.
That means they digging works was mostly over there. That's where their works was at. But let me say something to you, brother.
I don't believe that about neither one of them
Okay,
brothers.
you
But
don't have to
go.
believe. That's your belief. Don't make it
No,
fact. You know
no.
that.
John Henry Clark was not an Egyptologist. He was just a historian. And most of his work that he did
Okay.
was on Western Central Africa and the American experience. So you got him all wrong with the Egypt
Central,
stuff.
Central. No, you just said the key word. Central Africa, right? Right.
Western
You
Central
talk about
Africa, yeah.
okay, Africa. What was his work say about the Americans? What was that at? Because the Americans existed, right? Where he came from, right?
Yeah.
What was his works at? What
He
was his works
he
for that?
he
He did something.
has a book called Columbus and the African Holocaust. Do you got that book by John Henry Clark? And if
And
you
he
get
also
that book,
co-signed. He also co-signed this book here, right? He also co-signed Before the Mayflower, History of Black America. Do you know that?
you said what?
You see his book right here?
Uh-huh.
What does it say? You see it?
It says Mayflower, a history of black America.
Yeah. Before the Mayflower. So that means we was already here before the Mayflower.
Right.
What
Listen.
I'm trying to say, brother, you know what? You're right. Let me say something, brother. I'm not here to convince you. I'm saying do your homework because we go back and forth all day long. And I get what you're
No,
coming from.
but let's deal with this. John Henry Clark has a book called Columbus and the African Holocaust. So John Henry Clark believed in the transatlantic slave trade. He documented the transatlantic slave trade. He didn't deny that. Ivan Van Sertima is another one who didn't deny the transatlantic slave trade.
Because
Now you brought up Ivan Van Sertima. You put his
I'm
book
gonna bring
up.
it up. I'm gonna bring up this too.
Right.
Ivan
So hold on.
Ivan Sermon was approached by a Moor named Taj Tariq Bey. Ivan bin Sermon approached. He was approached by a Moor named Taj Tariq Bey, and Taj Tariq Bey asked him, "Why don't you tell the truth that these people are Moors?" Ivan Sermon said to him, "I can't, or I'll be what do you call it, expedited back to Guyana." He was bonded. He
All
was
right.
bonded.
All right.
They couldn't tell the whole truth.
That's cool, right? And but what I'm saying is he didn't deny the transatlantic slave trade.
I told
He
you, but he
believed.
didn't
Listen,
ask.
he believed that there was contact with Africans and Native Americans. He believed that he believed that Africans had contact. His book, the what you call it, they came before Columbus. It was about contact with pre-Columbian America and Africa. It wasn't about that the Africans or the black people that was here is the descendants of is the Native Americans. That's not what they came before Columbus was about. Like
Brother, all I'm saying to you is this. I'm just proving the fact. Forget about my opinion that we was here already before any type of slave trade you're talking about. We didn't come off boats by the millions off some slave trade. We was already here. That's my claim is, and my documents,
so
my books, and everything will back that up. If you don't do your family genealogy going back to 1700, 1800, me and you is on two different pages when it comes to that. I get what you say your family say, but if you have not done that family genealogy, we're on different levels. You know that, right?
so all right, in 1865, right at the end of slavery, right at the end of the Civil War,
Yeah.
the people that was released from bondage, right, from slave, from out of that system of slavery, you're saying that you can go back and trace those people prior to 1860 when there wasn't even good records on
That's not true.
on those
That's not
slaves.
that's not true, bro. We wasn't slaves like that, brother.
Why?
I can
What?
show
So you're saying 6 million to 7 million people enslaved in the southern United States that wasn't true?
no, it wasn't true. No, none of that was true. That's all
God
bogus.
dang, brother, that's too much, man.
Okay, you know what? I get where you're coming from.
That's too much, man. Like that's
Why too much? Why is it too much? Why is
th-
it too much?
because now, all right. So it is almost you already done said that the transatlantic slave trade ain't
It was
real.
bogus. It was bogus.
That's bogus. Now you're saying that slavery, that black people
Okay,
being enslaved in the United States is bogus. Like you,
okay. I want to show you this. Can you can you see this? This is my family genealogy. This is my fourth grandfather from 1830. His wife from 1835. They had about 12 children, which most of them passed away in the 1900s, early 1900s. This is their chart right here. My great grandfather, 1830, was Green Phelps. His wife was Judith Phelps. Green Phelps, he was a Muskogee from Greensboro. His wife, Judith
where does it say
Phelps.
that at?
Brother, I can show you the documents, but I'm
I
just
want to
saying,
see it.
okay, you want to every little thing, but you're not showing me nothing. That's
No,
the point.
because you're
I'm,
making a claim.
I'm showing you my family. Listen, this is my family. This is my family right here. I'm showing you a chart of my family. Let's
Does
show
it
you.
say Muskogee Indian?
I can show you all that on land patents if you want to see it. When we got time, I will take you to the land patents and show you our family names on land patents. Then you'll say, "Oh, do you gonna say something else?" Because once I
No,
show you land patents, you're gonna say something different.
no,
And when it's land patent, you're gonna show something different than
no.
that. I'm showing you, 1865. You said we came out of slavery. Here's my family lineage. 1830, 1835. Right? They had like 12, 13 children. Why haven't they all been broken up? How I'm still able to trace my family back that far? If they was all slaves. I think they sell them off like Kunta Kinte and Kizzy and all of them. It didn't happen like that when you
Right.
see the records.
I
I'm showing
agree.
you
No,
it didn't happen
I
like
said I agree with you that your family might be different.
No, there's a lot of people.
It.
Brother, when you ready, I'll bring the press on you. You be like, what? Waking up. You need to wake up. I get it. I was there too.
Mm,
The whole slave trade. Our people are waking up by the thousands. It's like we're forced to wake up. We don't. We gotta be proud. They gentrifying our people constantly. Enough is enough. Let me ask you a question, brother. When did our people receive the label, the misnomer label, black? When did we receive that? You know what year?
no, what year was that? What year
I'm
was
asking
it?
you. We became black in 1960s. When James Brown promoted more, I'm black and I'm proud. That's when we became black. Before that, what we called then before that?
Negroes,
Here you go. Before that, we was called what?
colored.
Here you go. And before that, what was it called? I'm gonna give it to you.
It was black.
Nope. It was Indian. It
What?
was Indian. We called a white guy named Walter Flecker. Walter Flecker from Virginia who changed our identity from being Indians to Negro and colored. Look it up. Documented.
And what year was this?
This is early 1900s, 1920s, something like that, around that area.
So if we go pull up documents calling us Negroes and blacks before 1900, then what do you say?
Oh, all that's fabricated.
Oh,
That's
that's
not how we
that's
see.
not gonna be true.
Okay, in 1920s, you wasn't quite so black. In
Okay,
fact, your grand,
I'm
grandparents
talking
back there
about
said you was.
18. I'm talking 1800s.
No, I'm trying to tell you fabricated
Isn't
documents.
the
They say
1800s before
fabricated documents.
1920?
Of course it is. But what I'm
Right.
trying to
So
say
if
is,
I show you that we're called black and
no, I don't
Negro,
care what you call. No, we wasn't called that. We was called black in 1960s. We wasn't called black in 1800s. Yeah, you might have books like this. Look, let me tell you something. Book right here says, see what this book said? What does it say?
black people are indigenous to the Americas.
Okay, they had to use these certain words to get a point across. So when you say indigenous, they all assume gonna be oh these Indian looking people, but they have to be Pacific, so they say black. They use this word to be Pacific. Black people are indigenous to the America. Research material for and question Kimberly Norton, you know what I'm saying? And she has here, this book is research material for inquire about the race of the indigenous inhabitants of the Americas. I give raw data is up to research to make their own conclusions on reference material from other books. She's giving you that we was already here. She mentioned the word black. She have to do that. But everything can't catch on to be indigenous, and they can't paint the picture like, oh, they say indigenous. They don't say black. They say indigenous because our people fall to that stage. All I'm saying is, brother, go through your family genealogy. You be like, that brother Malik was right. And let me tell you something. What I'm doing right now, I'm starting a group. Right, I'm starting a group right now, and I don't expect for everybody to wake up because at one time, you know, where you from, brother? What state you from, brother?
Maryland.
Maryland. I'm from New York, Brooklyn. My family came up from the South. You know what I'm saying? To Harlem. I was born in Harlem. Me and my 15 brothers. They moved to Brooklyn. Um, I came up through the 5% Nation. You familiar with them?
Yes, sir.
Gods and Earths. That's where I come up from age 13 on up. Then I started going to different meetings and reading to Harlem. I researched me. I got to meet Henry Clark and Dr. Jeffries. I got to meet them. And I went to dealing with metaphysics with Bobby Hemingfield Valentine. He goes to his house while he's in Brooklyn before he moved to Florida. And then I started learning history, you know what I'm saying? And what happened one day I got hurt with my job and they were trying to give me my finance and whatnot from getting hurt. So when my attorney at that time, you know, he kind of like blinked me off and whatnot. He sold my case out, you know, because I
Wash
received
your
a knee
ass.
injury. So I wound up meeting a brother one night. I didn't know what the hell was on his head. He said, it's a fence. He said, come to Harlem. You know what I'm saying? So I came to Harlem. I met the Moors up there, Tyler Terry Bader, and I learned civics. So by me learning the history and civics, learn how to protect my birthright. All I'm saying to you, brother, is this. We can go back and forth what it is until you done your homework and come off, you know, we say come off the plantation, you would never know. All I'm saying is, yes, there's a lot of truth to a lot of what you're saying. A lot of it's lies to hide our true identity. Why is it every 25, 30 years they call us a new name? You know we got a new name now, yeah, right now too, you know that, right?
What's the new name?
You heard of FBA, right? You heard that, right?
Yeah, I'm an FBA.
Yeah, it's new now. Ain't that new?
No, but that's basically what you're saying.
No, every
Foundational
25, 30
Black
years.
Americans. We ain't
Every watch
Africans.
it.
We was already here.
Yeah, what I just said, brother.
What?
So now you can. All I'm saying is this to you. Every 25, 30 years, we got a new name attached to us. First, we came off from being Indians to Negro and colored to black to African American, and now we FBA, Foundation Black America. These are not nationalities. These are all misnomers. You got to honor your forefathers and mothers, whatever tribe they came from. So if your grandfather and grandmother was Choctaw, that makes your bloodline Choctaw, not Negro, black, and colored. If your black background is Blackfoot, Chickasaw, that's who you are.
Or
So
African.
now,
Or African. If they African, you gotta honor that too.
so but here's the catch. You've been getting them out of it. The whole thing, you're not getting them out. You can't find no money here. Find mine's here. You have a hard time. Or you want to keep going through world slavery. African slavery. That's now you're trying to tell me where you come from.
We don't know.
There you go. You don't know.
No, we don't
You
know.
don't know. Let me tell you something, brother. You'll fill your whole thing up with a bunch of people that do know what tribe they come from. It's no problem. See, you're not in that circle. If you're not in that circle, you ain't gonna be able to know what's going on. You're right. You're not around the right people. Get it. You're around the right people.
To just start naming Native American tribes and saying that this is where you come from or these are your people, I don't think that that's proof. Now, you have a lot of, listen, you have a lot of information that you are, like these books and these different things that you're reading it
Documents.
and you're hodgepodging all of this stuff together, and you didn't came up with a whole scenario where you're denying tangible history, right? You're denying again slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, two things that I don't think I don't know what pride you get out of disassociating yourself or our people from those events like that. Like it's almost saying that if slavery didn't happen like that and the Civil War and all of this stuff, like you're saying that all of that is a lie, then Frederick Douglass and Abraham, like what is all? You're saying that then you even went to, you said that the original Europeans was even black. Like, so you have a whole, there's nothing about history.
Documented. Hold up. Documented. My
But
opinion.
let me get this out. Let me get the, but let me get this out. There is nothing about history that me and you will ever truly agree on. You dig what I'm saying? Like that's obvious,
I'm not
right?
a Negro.
Huh?
I'm not a Negro. I'm not a Negro.
I know, but even if you're not a Negro, you just said that the original people of Britain and
Yes.
France and all that they
Yes.
was
Yes.
black. Not
Yes.
only was the Native Americans was black, but even the
Yes.
Europeans was black, brother.
Both of them.
Listen, there's nothing nobody can do with you personally. You are the ultimate.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question since you say that, right?
Hmm.
You said nothing doing, right?
Yeah, I can't do nothing with you
Of
personally.
course
You
not. You
too
won't get our
much.
levels.
Yeah.
See this book right here?
Hmm.
What does it say? What does it say?
Ancient and modern Britons.
What do you see on the front page?
I see something that looked like it was from a deck of cards.
There's a brother up there who's a knight.
Uh
He's a
huh.
knight. He's a knight by David McRitchie. Ancient Modern Britain, volume 1 and 2. And it tell you who the real Europeans was, who the Picts was, who the Germans was, who all of them was. That was us.
So where do these white people come from?
I'm gonna tell you
If
something. You
if
wanna
if,
know
if
something?
hold on, if Europe is white now, right, and is all white, and people that look like you is in sub-Saharan Africa, then where do if the Chinese people is about 3 billion of East Asian people, if everything was all black from your estimation, then where do all of these other people that take up the world, where do they come from, and how did they get so numerous, and it's so few of us now?
I know. It's not so good. We still the majority on the earth. We are still the majority on the earth. Are you serious, bro? We're still the majority on the earth. They the minority. They're admitting that. Their seeds are dying out. The so-called white race is dying out. That's a fact. That's a fact. Now I'm gonna say something to you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a Christian?
Yes.
Okay. How old is the Bible? About.
Um, about 5,000 years old.
Okay, it's 6,000 years old.
The Bible is 6,000 years old. Okay.
6,000 years old, right?
Yeah.
Right. The Bible they say around 6,000 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, about 500, whatever, 6,000, whatever. You know how old the pyramids are?
The pyramids is around 4,000.
No, 10, 11, 12.
What?
The pyramids in Gaza, which you call Egypt, are over 10,000 years old. You can read it. And the pyramids over here in North America, you forget there's pyramids over here in America, right?
I don't know if they're pyramids, but
They
continue.
call mounds. They call pyramids. Yes, they are. You got pyramids here, and they call mounds. You heard of mounds? We have more mounds here than over in Kemet, what they call Egypt. They're older than your Bible, your Quran, and your Torah. Before that, all I'm trying to say is you just don't know history like that. I get it.
So
You know that
you just said that the pyramids is
older
over
than Bible.
is over
It's older.
10,000 years old.
I tell you what, Google right now, if you
You know,
can.
you said the
Google,
pyramids in Giza was over 10,000 years old.
yeah. So you say your Bible about
How would you
5,000
know
years
that?
ago.
How would you know that?
It's already documented, brother.
Documented where? Who documented this?
Okay, listen, brother. Listen. Listen what I'm saying, brother. Listen. I get you not on the level. I
Mm.
get it. All I'm saying to you is Google right now, which is older, the Bible or the pyramids? Just Google it. Tell me what it says. And I'll shut my mouth. Which is older, the Bible or the pyramids? Google that.
Okay, I'm gonna Google it. I think the pyramid is older than the Bible.
Hold up. So if that's true, no, forget about you think. Just see if you Google it. Would you shut up, brother? You ain't talking to me. Google it. Which one's older?
The pyramids of Egypt. All right, it say the pyramids of Egypt, specifically the Great Pyramid of Giza, are considerably older than the Bible.
Okay, let me ask you a
Hold
question.
on,
You
hold on.
got
Let me
six.
let me finish, cause you
Yeah,
just
bro.
got disproved, right?
Yeah, bro.
It
Yeah.
says the pyramids of Egypt construction began. The first pyramids were built around 2670 BC. All right. So that's 4,600 years old, not
Brother, yeah.
10,000.
Nah, brother, yeah, I'm good.
4,600 years
Brother,
old.
brother, let me say something to you. That Bible, how old the Bible?
No, you said that the pyramids was over 10,000 years old.
Brother, let me say something to you. I don't know what you Googled, but
I did what you said. You told me to
okay,
Google it.
all right, answer the question. Which is older, the Bible or the pyramid? Just answer the question, brother.
The pyramids are older than the Bible,
Okay, that's all I
according to
need to know.
Google.
That's all I need.
All
That's
right,
all I
so
need to know.
is Google a credible source?
No. Hear me out.
So obviously Google is a credible source.
Brother, you remember I said you're not a Negro.
But
You're not a
hold on.
Negro.
So
But you know the difference between me and you? You're looking for something that's already in your face already. I get it. You got to keep questioning.
n-
I don't got to keep questioning who I am. I'm sure who I am, and I'm telling you,
All right, let's
brother.
deal with this then. Let's deal with your claim. You made a claim, no, bro. I didn't make this claim.
But you're in denial.
I'm
You're in
not.
denial.
You listen.
You just admitted that the pyramids was in the Bible. What's more need to be said? You
Right.
gonna say
That's a good thing. Listen. That I just listen.
listen, you got yeah, brother. Google. Matter of fact, don't even use Google. Use something else.
No, no, hold on. So you told me to Google this, right?
What I'm saying is,
I
if you want
Googled
text
it.
in another form, if you want to text in another form, still won't come up that the pyramids was in the Bible. Still
Right,
won't
right.
come up.
You proved your point. The pyramids is older than the Bible, but in
How
this
is that
same
not?
in this same
What's that
source,
telling you?
right? But in this same source, it's not saying that the pyramids is 10,000 years old.
Okay,
So
they
either
was
we gonna believe
older.
Google or we not.
Do another one. Do another one. Because a guy like you is always gonna stay in
All right.
denial.
So
So I'm
now I'm
saying,
gonna ask Google. I'm gonna ask Google, how old is the pyramids?
no, brother. Do something else. Another format. You
All
want
right,
another
tell me
format?
the format. Tell
Listen.
me the search engine to use for the age of the
Okay,
pyramids.
use any search engine if you want,
Give
brother.
me
I'm
one.
telling
Give
you.
me one.
Listen. Here's what I'm saying to you, brother. A search engine. How about uh,
You familiar with Chat GPT? Can we use that?
I'm not familiar with that too much. I ain't gonna lie
Okay.
to you.
Well, which one
So
is you familiar with?
use that one you choose, brother. That's what I'm saying. Use that one you want to choose. All right.
All right. I'm going to use what's another search engine? Safari.
Okay, brother. Whatever you want to use it.
All right.
Which is older?
Which is older? The
As a matter of fact, know what you put down?
uh,
Which is older? The pyramids, the Torah,
no,
the
no, no, no,
Quran.
no. I'm already in agreement with the pyramids being older than the Bible. But now we're trying to get to the age of the pyramids because you said the pyramids
Okay.
was over 10,000 years old.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying to you, brother. You don't have to even go there now. Now you realize the pyramids older than the Bible. Let go to tell you people this before the Bible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, where's that telling you about that then?
It's telling me that people existed before the written Bible. I'm fine with that. Which
Are you?
everybody listen. The Bible even admits that. The Bible says people. If the Bible records the first human beings, then of course they're saying that human beings existed before the Bible. That's common sense.
Okay. So if that's true, right? That's true. I like the way you said that. The Bible saying it was before that.
Yeah.
So that means they say in the beginning was Adam and Eve. So right?
Was the beginning was Adam and Eve? That's a lie.
That's a lie. If the Bible is not older than the pyramid, somebody built a pyramid, that means the Adam and Eve story is a lie. In the beginning was Adam and Eve. Is that true or is that false? Because before Adam and Eve now.
Yeah, but we're jumping around again.
Is that true or not? Yes or no?
The Bible does state that Adam and Eve was the first human beings.
Okay. So the pyramid before Adam and Eve in the Bible. Something.
No, the pyramids are before the Bible, not before Adam and Eve. That would be crazy. Look what you just did.
Let me say something. You come over here to catch, brother. I'm not, you my brother, no matter what I'm saying.
Right.
I advise you to do your family genealogy. I know people talk about it, but do it. When you do it, you'll say that brother Malik was right.
So what about the pyramids being 10,000 years old?
Well, I'm not worried about that right now.
So it doesn't matter whether the pyramids are 10,000 years old. Your point was that it's older than the Bible
And the Quran.
and the Quran, but the pyramids can be 26. The pyramids can be 4,600 years old. It still makes it older than the Bible. It don't have to be 10,000 years old.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So you slipped up on the 10,000.
It is spin, but you know, we accurate sometimes.
Right.
What I'm saying, I think I read it one time when it said that. What I'm saying
It just shows you that some of the information that you can read in these books can be wrong.
of course.
Okay. Because you showed me a lot of books, right? And we can go through those books and I can show you errors and inconsistencies in those books, but I know we don't have the time for that. especially the Ivan Van Sertima, they came before Columbus. We can go and I'm not trying to tear none of the brothers down. That's why I don't want to go through their works and tear them apart. Because the brothers, a lot of those brothers that you show made a lot of urns that can, well, if you test some of the stuff that they said, it don't come back as true. You dig what I'm saying?
I'm gonna say this to you. What reality is this? Like a flood your whole site.
Right.
People claim back their indigenous status. Darren, not me. I can bring people in and tell you the whole story of their family. How the indigenous, some brothers they come up with their family land, patents, whatnot, the railroad, all that stuff. I know people that was connected to Watson Carver. You know what I'm saying? How they take his penis off his shit, all kind of shit. Family. I'm like, what? What I'm saying is, we are indigenous to America. We the John Ross come from us again. All the patents, majority 50,000 patents. Slaves are us. They buried our towns underwater when they start hanging from trees, taking our land by the thousands. They did the cover of New York. They read that whole slave story on us. That's why there's no history here. What? Yeah, can't they? Meanwhile, I come to find these sued Alex Haley for that dumbass movie. Plagiarized that movie. They sued because the Irish woman movie. The history is the movie roots is based on historical fiction, they call it now. 12 years of slavery based on fiction. What I'm trying to say is this. I ain't got to show you all those books and all that. I'm telling you do your genealogy and you say, wow. I found my people when they buried that, grave site, and they been here. That whole slave story. Look at them books, and let me say something about slavery. Back in the 1800s, the word slavery came from word called Slavic. That's what it said, white cargo. They are the original slaves, the Slavs. That's where slavery come from. You got no origin. If you don't know about etymology, you know etymology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Origin of the word. Mm-hmm. Do you know the letter J wasn't introduced to the alphabet to the 14th, 15th century? Do you know that?
I don't believe that.
But it's documented. You gotta believe me. It's documented. Etymology don't lie. The origin of words, they come from. They have practice old English, New English, old Spanish, and all that. You don't have to believe. It's documented. You can't go against that. Unless you got something else to go against that. You got something to go against etymology, brother?
No, I don't have nothing against etymology, but J was there, and it's the long I. It didn't have the G, the long, which is the long I sound, and that's why it has the dot and it droops under, below the other letters. It was the long I which makes that Y sound, but it didn't have the G. It didn't have the long G sound to it.
It was introduced to the alphabet in the 14th. Look it up in etymology.
So since the J didn't make that sound, what does that mean?
That's what I'm talking about. You ain't right to say. Like I said about the sound, I'm trying to say to you is the letter J wasn't introduced to the alphabet to the 14th, 1500s. That's all I'm saying.
But what does that? So what does that mean?
That means,
how is that germane to this conversation?
I'm gonna tell you how it is. That means back in the Bible time, at 1400, that means it was John, Joseph, not Jesus. It didn't exist the name like you think it is.
So what was the names then?
Well, I just told you. You got to you're the Christian, not me. Remember that. You're the Christian. I'm telling you how things lay down on our people. All I'm saying is this, brother. The Barbary treaties.
The Barbary treaties. The treaty. Huh?
That was 1700 to 1800. That was from late 1700 to the early 1700s.
The Barbary Wars.
Yeah, there you go, brother. The Barbary Wars. You know what Barbary Wars? They were wars.
Yeah, they was a collection of North Africans and Muslims that blockaded the Christian the Christian world in the Mediterranean.
Okay, who do you think Christians was at that time? Dark-skinned people. They were dark-skinned melanated people.
What?
We're the true Christians too. You know that?
No, they was fighting against the Christians of
It was all religions. Listen, we had a lot of religious wars. You know that, right?
Yeah, but they They was fighting. They was
The
they
Great Crusades, the Great Crusades between the Christians and the Muslims, right?
yes sir.
You know they're the same people, bloodline. You're from Baltimore, but you're not really Southern, right?
Mm-hmm.
You consider Southern? No, right?
Yeah. I mean, no,
What do you?
the South don't consider us South, and the North don't consider us North. We're the Mason Dixon line,
You're in the what do you call it?
DMV.
What?
Mm-hmm.
DMV. Now, I can never understand what they call that, but what I'm saying is this to you, brother. In the South, they call Northerners Yankees, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you know that's a Southern thing? From the South, if I come from North, go down there back, but it really they don't say it as much.
Yeah, they was Yankees, and the Southern was Dixies.
Okay, now, do you know people in the Highlands start calling us Yankees? Had nothing to do with them.
So what that mean?
I'm just trying to say people from the Highlands was calling us Yankees, and I asked people from Jamaica. I said, where you get that word Yankee from? Because that's a Southern word. Am I right or wrong?
Is it I don't know if it's a Southern word or not.
It's a Southern word, yeah. It came from the Civil War, the Yanks.
Okay.
Right? Okay, what I'm saying is this. I asked the people from the islands, how did you start calling us Yankees? The Jamaicans. And they said they were watching cowboy Indian movies and stuff like Civil War movies. That's where y'all picked up that word from. You get what I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
History don't lie. Any people do, right or wrong.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with the Barbary Wars and the?
I'm showing you yards of people. We've always been here. That's what have to do. We've always been here.
Oh yeah, that was a crazy connection.
Yeah. We've always been here. That's what I'm saying to you. Oh, white people it. What it is, the hide you all. We come to a brother of a great bloodline. Just that you don't wake up.
What if my great bloodline is in Africa? What would be the problem there?
There's no problem.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Because you're saying you said you could come from a great bloodline, and I agree. But what would be the difference if my bloodline was a great African bloodline? Right. So the Native American blood ain't better than African blood.
Here's the problem.
Jesus Christ.
You're stopped.
Hold on, but if we was all, where do the original people come from? Where does humanity start at?
I say something to you, brother.
I asked the question.
There's no. You want to look into something that's minor to me. I can't talk to brothers like you like that. Because what it is this. Let me say something to you, brother. Do you know they found the oldest man DNA down in North Carolina? You know that?
What?
Yeah. You would never know this stuff. I'm gonna give you.
Bro, I know about the man with the A00. What's the name? But it was linked back to Africa anyway.
No.
Jesus Christ, man! See, this is. What is you about to say about that? See, you thought I didn't know that. First off, you thought I didn't know that.
No, I didn't think you know anything. I just met you, brother. I don't think you know anything. All I'm saying to you is this, brother. Hear me out. The brother name, I'm gonna give you right now.
Was it the A00?
What the hell is A00?
That was the genetic signature.
His name is listen. They say he's the father of all men found in South Carolina, right? He found it in South Carolina and is over 340,000 years old. His name is Albert Perry. Albert Perry chromosome rewriting human evolution. Shocking DNA discovered this black man's DNA. That 99 black boys. What I'm trying to say is this.
What is this saying? That was crazy.
His name is Albert Perry, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's considered the father. His DNA structure goes way further back than those in Africa. His name is Albert Perry. You can read up on him. Listen, brother. You read up on him. I'm not gonna throw it out there like that. I'm telling you, read it, and then you'll say, okay, Malik, I read up on him. I get what they're saying, and they break it down. What I'm saying is, brothers, hear me out. Whether they're in Africa, whether they're in the Americas, we are the oldest people on the earth. You understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not denying my brothers and sisters in Africa. I'm not denying that. You're not gonna make me out to be African like that all the time. And it's earth at one time was like this, and it's split apart.
Human beings wasn't no human beings. See, human beings wasn't on a planet when the continents was all together. There was no human life on the planet, so that wouldn't even make sense. So you're saying human beings are old? You're saying that human beings are millions of years old?
We're not saying that. What we're saying is this. We didn't just Africa. That's what we're saying.
Hold on. If all human beings are the same, then we had to come from one place.
No, that's not. I get where you're coming from. Let me say something, brother. Maybe make you feel better.
Okay.
Let's say Africa is our kingdom, right?
Okay.
If our empire, right? But we travel all over the world too. We migrate all over the world. So why would we be over here too?
Human beings. Yes. Human beings.
Listen, we are kingdoms, we are explorers, right on.
Where do human beings come from?
You're not hearing what I just said, bro. You just missed the whole
I didn't. I did not. But you jumping. Human beings did have kingdoms over here.
Listen what I'm saying to you, brother. If Africa's the kingdom, right? Listen, that's our home, right?
You said what? Say it again.
That's our home, right? Our home, right? We come, right?
Africa is the birthplace of humanity. That's what I'm saying. Yes, human beings left Africa and explored the world.
So why would we be in America?
Human beings were in America. I'm not denying that human beings was in America.
What you think they look like?
What you mean? What I think they look like?
So
yes, human beings changed as they traversed the globe. So hold on. How do you explain the different varieties of the human phenotype?
All I'm saying is this. We are indigenous on Earth. I can get into another story, but I get where you're coming from. But like I said,
we agree that we agree that human beings come from Africa.
Okay, you agree with that. I don't.
So you don't. So where do they come from then?
All over Earth at one time.
So is human beings one species?
No, it's only one race.
Yeah.
Species are different. Listen, it's only one race. You understand that, right?
Okay. So what
That's the human race.
I agree. Now where does that race originate at? One race. Where does that race originate at? Yes, sir.
They're finding bones over here now.
Where?
Over here in the Americas.
What bones did they find in the Americas that's older?
I just gave you one.
No,
I just gave you Albert Perry. You didn't catch that?
That's not bones.
Yes, bro. DNA, bro. DNA. Chromosomes are over there. Albert Perry and Master African. You say something wrong here.
That's not bones, though, brother.
Brother, hear me out, brother.
Go ahead.
You want to be specific?
Yes, I want to be specific because this is serious.
You don't connect to one history. One history is this tunnel.
Yeah. Break me out that tunnel. Break me out that tunnel.
I don't want to break that tunnel. I know you'll be a Mason.
I'm not a Mason, brother. I'm not a Mason.
You know why I say that?
Why?
Because they stick to that. The ones that come and try to... Okay, that's Africa all day long. Then more than people all over Earth then. Were the Africans too? Were the Moors Africans?
Yes.
Where's
Where's Morocco at?
Brother.
Are you a Moor? Hold on. Are you a Moor? You a Moor?
Down to you don't let me break it down to you.
No, I'm asking you. Are you a Moor?
But never did it. Of course, see the Malik?
So if you're a Moor, then where's Morocco?
Yeah,
No, Morocco.
Question, brother. Do you know that place in Africa they call Morocco was just established in 1954? You know that?
So Morocco is not the original. Is not originally in Africa. Okay.
Listen. We have kingdoms and empires, right?
Yeah. Okay. Who?
You just admitted that Casablanca was in Morocco. Now,
Yes.
Casablanca means White House. Does it not?
The place called Casablanca is in Morocco, which is in Africa.
Answer the question. What do Casablanca mean?
I thought it meant White Castle.
White Castle. Was you hungry? White Castle doing in Morocco? That don't make sense. What you said. That's in Morocco.
Okay.
Okay, I'm asking you a question. Casablanca means White House. Where's the White House? You said DC, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Let me talk about right there. Your word. You can't get away from
Man,
the word.
this is great. So since they named the presidential palace or estate the in DC the White House, you're saying that Casablanca and Morocco is somehow connected to that?
You're connected, brother. Our empire was vast. I'm gonna tell you how empire was vast. Our empire was so vast. You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
If you go into the Navy, they got a song. Remember that song? What does it say?
The Navy?
Yeah, the Navy. You know the Navy have a song, right?
What's the Navy song?
From the shore.
That's not the Navy. That's not the Navy. That's the Marines. That's the Marines.
Listen. It could be Marines. Don't make a difference. Catching on what I'm saying. It don't make a difference. It was the Army. I'm showing you.
It's not the Army. It was the Marines.
It don't matter. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I'm glad you corrected. So it's the Marines.
That was the first war our Marines fought in.
Okay.
Was in North Africa.
No. Listen, brother. From the wars of Montezuma to the shores of Cape, what are they talking about?
They talking about the Barbary Wars.
No.
Yes, they were. Yo.
No. Yeah, brother.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Okay, appreciate it. Oh my God. All right, Malik, we gotta do this again, man. I want you to bring these books. We can dissect them. You got a lot of good information.
All I'm saying is, before I go, you gotta go.
I'ma do that. I'ma do my DNA also.
No, that goes to face. That blood test. Listen to me. That blood test, that swab test will put you in Africa. You're right. That takes away your birthright. Right? That was a lie. You going mad fast. Henry Gates?
Henry Louis Gates Jr. Yeah.
Henry Louis Gates on YouTube it says Henry Louis Gates bunks DNA. Tell you it's all fraud. He was the one who came forward with it. He said it's fraud.
Wow.
But that was all fraud. You can't take somebody's DNA and you my Tutsi tribe, this tribe, that don't make no sense. All right, brother. I'm gonna say peace, but talk to me, man.
Man, good conversation.
Always, brother.
Good. You gotta come back, man. Hey, subscribe to the channel. Hey, listen, we have a study group, right?
You say chief,
Chefron.
What?
L on to L.
Why you got an L there? That's a more.
My parents.
They're Moors?
My father, when he first turned Muslim, he was a Moor, and he kept that name, but he eventually converted to Orthodox Islam. So by the time I was born, they was Orthodox. Muslim.
He gave me the L, huh?
Yes,
That's
sir.
beautiful, bro. That's beautiful. All right, all right. No, because that is enlightened. The L comes from out the Bible. The enlightened one. You know that, right?
Oh, you just put me on, so I'm the enlightened one. So you need to
Yeah,
listen
you
to me.
are.
You need to listen to me.
And I
It's in my blood.
listen to you. Oh, I just know you could be a Mason. That's why I asked you. Mason.
Nah,
Mason does it.
I'm not a Mason.
Everything you say. Everything they say, they dispute it. Like, it never takes place. Go ahead, brother.
Oh yeah, so we got a study group, right? I'm gonna send you the link. And
Just studying.
we everything but we never had this conversation before. You dig what I'm saying?
Man, listen. I got a brother out of DC too, man. He's right there where all the books at. The library on Congress.
Yeah.
You need to see documents for themselves, man. It takes a whole new language, all that stuff. Don't mean nothing. Go ahead, brother.
Oh yeah, so I'm gonna send you a link to our Discord. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna try to find some of those books that you was throwing up, and I'm gonna put them in our Discord. And I would love to continue the conversation because, like I said, we talk about everything, but we never had this conversation. You dig what I'm saying? We talk about Egypt, we talk about Africa, we talk about politics. You know what I mean? We talk about everything, but we never talked about this one. You dig what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? And yeah, I was always reluctant to have this conversation because, like I said before, I felt as though it's disrespectful. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah, I always felt as though this was very disrespectful towards black people in our history. To deny our history, slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, I just always, but you very respectful, so I'm willing to have a conversation, even though, I don't think that you're doing anything malicious, but I just still feel as though, that's crazy to even, disregard our history the way that it's been done in the last 5 years by this type of conversation. But definitely very respectful, so I'm willing to have a conversation and study with you. You dig what I'm saying? Yep.
So invite me in, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sending you the link now in your email. Appreciate it, Malik.
Yeah, brother. Peace.
Peace.